let's start with today's solution session, which is about getting back to business. And it's an example how you can do the exhibition hall planning. It is developed by the team of Czarnowski, and Torsten and Anne will present what they have developed. And of course, as always, we will have the chance for a discussion afterwards, or if you have questions in between, please write just a note at the chat function, and then I will take care of this. And now I would like to hand over to Anne and Torsten. I just saw them. I lost them on my screen, but they will be somewhere hidden on the. Yes, they are. Here they are. So back to business, Torsten and Anne. We are curious, but we can't hear you.
You have to unmute, Torsten.
Now you can hear me, huh?
Yes. All right.
Fantastic. Hello, everyone. It's good seeing everyone here again. And a warm welcome from Germany.
Torsten, you have your Diktierfunktion on.
Okay. Then I have to stop it. Wait a second. And now you don't see any sublines, right? We figured out that this is a new function and you can also translate, but the translation is kind of awful, so we stopped it. It's you know, not working very well. Yeah, hey, we thought, you know, we share some of our activities we're doing here in Germany with Czarnowski. As we are all, you know, in the same boat, it's pretty difficult these days to figure out, you know, what we can do to encourage venues, organizers, and the exhibitors to come back to business. And, you know, with the entire team here in Cologne, we have started, you know, an initiative kind of 4 weeks ago, was it? Roughly 5 weeks ago? 5 to 6. That we brought in some ideas to the organizers, you know, what they probably can do to be prepared for the comeback of our business in the venues, you know, under these circumstances of the COVID-19 regulations. So in between, so since like 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, we have some new regulations in place, but those differ from state to state in Germany right now. But they have, of course, all in common to bring back the trade shows as soon as possible. And in Germany, we will have the first shows coming in September, October, hopefully. So saying that, you know, it's not a guarantee. It all depends on the exhibitors, because for them it's still a high risk to confirm a show, because they don't know if they will still have some travel restrictions. And then don't forget about their crew or their team, you know, they have to send for traveling, and then their company will take also a risk by organizing a stand where they have to send staff also to other countries. So it's still a big question mark here, but last week we had a close conversation with Messe Cologne, and they are pretty confident that the Orgatech, which will take place end of October, will happen. So that's a good sign, and yeah, we are happy to share the news with you as soon as the show is confirmed. Other shows, by the way, are not confirmed. So as a consequences, you know, of all of these social distancing that we have for the venues, it is kind of mandatory, you know, that they fulfill certain requirements here. And these measurements they're taking in Germany might be different to those in your countries. But just to give you an example, we have collected here the regulations for 2 states in Germany, which one is North Rhine-Westphalia. That's the state where we are in Cologne. It's in the part of Western Germany. We have the highest population throughout the Germany overall. And the second is Bavaria, where Messe Munich is pushing a lot to bring back the shows as well. And Anne will explain you a little bit more on this later on. So what does that mean for us? All states have looked into the Chinese market, and the first show that happened kind of after COVID was the Hunan Auto Show, where they also took measurements, as you see here, with some of these points like online registration, ticket control at entry, hygienic disinfection checkpoints, and so on. This has been copied also by Germany, by the states. So these for sure will also apply in every country in the near future if they're not already in place. So we're pretty confident, you know, that those measurements they have taken in Shanghai and those, you know, of the other countries that are following, that those will be applicable also in your countries as soon as the shows are coming back. So here the published measurements for North Rhine-Westphalia. So the implementation of fairs and congresses requires special hygienic and infection protection concept, and that is not so far away from, as I mentioned before, you know, what the Chinese have done. A few things, you know, that are not really clear for us is, for instance, here point number 2, that they allowed like 1 person per 10 square meter. And this is accessible for accessible exhibition space. It is not defined if this applies to the entire size of the venue, if this applies to the sold space, or if it applies, if you break it down, on a stand itself. And with a conversation we had with Messe Köln and Messe Düsseldorf, they are anticipating this rule as a sold space. So that they have, let's say, 100,000 square meters sold to exhibitors, that would allow them to have 10,000 people on the ground. But, you know, it is still under discussion, because it would not work, certainly, if we have a 30 square meter booth and you have only 3 people allowed on the stand. So, but as soon as we have an update, we will share with everyone. It's kind of difficult to get quick information these days because a lot of people are on furlough, but we are on it because it is crucial, you know, for future plannings of any designs for stands for our or for your customers. So that is something, you know, I'm not even sure if any other nation will copy this rule, but it is the first step, you know, into the hopefully right direction, as long as it applies to the sold space and not to the exhibition space itself, breaking down to each of the customers. Yeah, of course, I'm wearing the mouth and nose cover. That's of course something that would apply for the trade shows as well. Then we have to have verified admission tickets. This is something not so uncommon because everyone who is attending a show, you know, usually has to fill in name, address, and contact details, right, when they come to the showground. So this would, of course, be a strict rule also for future shows. The central registration and recording of contact data, that's of course part of it. Then these hygienic measurements here for hand sanitizing and so on that should need to be available. Then the sufficient ventilation of the premises, which is probably not an issue for any of the venues in Europe or anywhere in the world, I would guess. Not so sure about, because when I remember when I was in India, that was probably different. In India, the halls are not so well ventilated, but, you know, however. And the placement of seats in lecture rooms so that they can always guarantee the 1.5 meter social distance. Yeah, then breaking this down, you know, to the exhibitors, that they define a responsible person on the stand that is liable for you know, fulfilling these requirements. This information on the size of the premises, of outdoor areas and stand formats and path guidance, information on the room air conditioning equipment and measures for regular ventilation, measures to maintain a distance of 1.5 meter between visitors, and so on and so on. So I will share this details with you. Uta has the presentation already, so and we can submit after the presentation PDF or publish it as always, you know, on our website. So Munich, you're
right.
more familiar with Munich?
Yeah, so Messe Munich shared their measurements approximately 1 or 2 weeks ago, and they pretty much all have the same aim, which is maintaining the safe distance, supporting the hygiene, and enabling the tracking and tracing of contacts. They added some measurements that should be taken into consideration when doing the booth layout and the whole stand design, which is having wide corridors and one-way traffic, as well as path guidance, which Torsten talked about already. They also want to avoid accumulations and make sure that everything is everyone is having enough room, and they have recreational and visiting areas in front of the booth in order to maintain the safe distance and not having too many visitors on their stand. Then again, the provision of disinfectant dispensers and also having anti-spitting devices at counters, but also on any catering areas, which will be shown in the next slide. Yeah, avoidance of physical contact, such as door handles. So try to maintain the distance, but not having like closed doors or anything. Yeah. Then they also have some specific measures for the catering area. They would like to have the whole staff that is serving food or beverages to have a mask, as Torsten is wearing right now. They also want to have the spitting protection devices, as I already said. They also want to avoid self-serving counters in order to reduce the risk of infection by physical touch of any coffee machines or anything like that. And they also want to provide individually packaged milk, sugar, or cutlery, also, of course, to reduce the risk of infection. And they should undergo a specific training due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and all staff that is serving anything should undergo this training.
Yeah, so like for you, if you have a subcontractor providing catering to your client, I mean, then you have to discuss with them, you know, how they're going to ensure, you know, to fulfill these requirements, unless you don't have a partner like Alessandro, who is already aware of it and is prepared with trained staff, you know, to work on future stands with catering. But regardless, you know, I mean, it's important, I think it's very important that we all get kind of familiar, you know, with these new rules, that we can also be consultant for our clients, because we have a feeling that the clients need some guidance in these days, because they are not so much on, you know, the details as far as we experienced, and they need really someone to guide them through this new situation and the new rules and regulations.
Yeah, and those are the most recent regulations. They are actually updating them quite frequently, so we're keeping everyone updated, but it's kind of an evolving situation. And
we emphasize everyone, right, to consider those solutions also to offer to organizers and venues, because that can be an additional revenue stream for you, that you also consult, you know, your organizers and help them with different solutions here. like for instance these hand sanitizer stations that can be, as shown here on the left picture, it can be standalones, or you have them combined with some graphic poles in order to give some additional information or wayfinder or whatever that meant to be. So that is something we can sell into organizers and venues as well, in addition to the stands that we're hoping to get back soon. So this is actually what we are doing here. We're trying to push this offer also into the neighboring venues that we have here in the Cologne area or North Rhine-Westphalia.
Usually about 5 minutes.
What's that? Yeah. Okay, wasn't on mute. Is Chris McCabe in?
Sorry, my son was bringing me a puppy to put on my lap for a minute.
Hi, Chris. Good
How are you? Good to see you. And the whole gang there. It's great.
So, yeah.
All right. So we already talked about path guidance, and this is just an example to show how this can be done in the hall or on the actual booth stand. It is actually just to give an orientation and reduce crowding on the exhibition premises. Then we also have visitor tracking, which is already implemented mostly, but this can also help counting people or visitors that are actually on the booth or in the hall, and can help monitoring the whole situation and giving advice if anyone else can enter the premises or has to wait until there's more space to keep the minimum distance that is required right now. Then we are also showing some IT systems that can help the efficiency on the actual exhibit, which is kind of like the what we already showed, the visitor tracking with the access system, which can show the visitor if he's allowed to access the booth or not, or if he has to wait. Of course, there can also be some informational stuff shown on the actual display while the visitor is waiting. And then there's also like organizational software or daily schedule, which can help the visitor and the company in advance to get meetings in order and help finding someone on the premises without having to wait for someone or yeah, speaking to them directly. This is an entry manager which is right now used at several supermarkets in Germany, actually, which is the monitoring of visitors, and it helps, as already said, visitors to give them information if they are allowed to access the premises or if they have to wait before entering and being able to talk to visitors or getting the
and this system could apply also for the halls itself.
Right.
So not only for a stand, it can be used on stands, but at the same time we can use a visitor tracking system.
Yes.
But this system would also allow an organizer or a venue to manage the number of visitors in one specific hall. So once, you know, they have reached the threshold, you know, of a certain number that they can, of course, calculate on their own, then the system would give that, you know, turn from green into red, and then the visitors would know that at this point, you know, they're not allowed to go into the hall anymore because it's all already loaded. So there are enough visitors inside. So that these are all systems, you know, that we have investigated on and we're offering. So we're offering to venues and organizers in case they have any need. So we have that available.
And it can also be adjusted by a sound or anything,
yeah,
like a beeping.
Like an alarm, or you would certainly would need some security guy on the entrances as well, because people wouldn't notice, you know, that there is a red sign or whatever, and then they would enter as well. Anyways, that will probably, we need some security to ensure that people will stop moving in.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we all know that most of the shows have their own app available just before show opens. And we thought about the app and having it supplemented with an appointment calendar, which could then be kind of like a visitor relationship manager, which would be helpful for all visitors, knowing that they have meetings, where to meet, who to meet, and when. But they can also help organizers tracking visitors and also tracing them in order to find out, in case there is an infection, who was meeting with whom and who to contact in case of an infection.
Yeah, then in addition to that, we thought a little bit for the organizers and venues as well, how to restructure future exhibits, because with the numbers given, by the governments, that you have, for instance, only 10 square, or you need 10 square meter per person. And if we break it down on a single stand, that would make it certainly very complicated to host catering within your space, which was so common in Europe before, that you could have a coffee, or have something to eat, whatever. But on smaller stands, that would become very, very tricky, because when you have 50 square meters with only 5 people allowed at a time, then you will not offer a coffee, because that would, of course, hold everyone else back to enter the stand. So therefore, we thought, we have to bring out the entire catering from the stands, from the individual stands, to common waiting areas. And this is, how we came up with this idea, that we have grouped the stands around catering and waiting zones. So the catering areas, as indicated here, for instance, as a larger one, they can be used by one exhibitor or can be shared by multiple exhibitors, so that in case someone would like to enter a booth and it's already packed, that they could go and wait in the catering zone, and they give an indication how long that's going to take until they can come back. So those systems we don't have, but it could be that they just leave their phone number and you text them simply. The booth staff will text them, okay, we're ready now to welcome you, or you just simply come back after having a coffee and then go back to the stand. In addition, then we have these waiting areas, which would look like, as an idea, it looked like this. So each of the corners would be branded, for the specific or related exhibitor, so that in case they cannot attend the booth space, that they can go over to this waiting area, stand there and wait for a while until they see that the booth is now opened again, or reopened. And then we have them, place them right in between, as you see here, between the stands. By the way, the aisles are 4 meters in width here, to ensure, as you better see here, to ensure the minimum distance. The radius around these individuals here is the outline is 2 meters, then 1.5 and 1 meter, so that you have a feeling, what kind of, or what the maximum participants are allowed on each stand. So just to give you a rough idea, how complicated it is to measure with a safety distance. And then we have small and medium catering areas that are available exclusively, or as I mentioned before, can be used as a shared space. The costs for those catering areas, of course, need to be shared by the exhibitors that are using it. They can also be sold by the organizer to a catering company, in case you're selling food there. And there would be also an opportunity for the organizers to sell sponsoring areas. So like, this coffee is brought to you by whatever, IFES, right? Or by whomever, but that could be the name of an exhibitor or another company who is interested in the target groups. So, because you will also see that the organizers and venues, they are looking for a revenue stream here, because they cannot give away the entire space for free. And then in order to give them an idea, you know, what they can do to get some revenue, you know, they can, for instance, sell the space for sponsoring or exclusively for catering to a company. Yeah, then we have here some movement areas, as I mentioned before, when you have this not accessible at the point because the booth is already packed, that you have this waiting zones as a buffer in between the meetings. So in addition, we thought about how would the stands or the stand design look like within COVID-19 regulations. And Anne will explain you something because we have prepared 3 different sizes, but this is just an example, right?
Yeah, it's just an idea.
It's not a design, it's just a,
an idea to give, right, to show how it can be used efficiently with different access entrances and exits, as well as showing assets and having kind of meeting areas. This is a 6x6 booth shown in 3D to see how this can be used very sufficiently. We also have that for 10 by 6 meter, right, to just like show how this can be done. Of course, there can be glass panels used or solid walls or stanchions, whatever helps isolating the whole booth from the main aisle. And this is only a 12 by 12 meter booth with 2 access entrances and 2 exits. Yeah, just to give you an idea how this can be done in those times.
Yeah, what makes it difficult, and you have noticed we have here a corner stand, or we have 2 corner stands, and we have 1 island stand, but the inlines are pretty critical for us. That's why we haven't drawn the inline stands, because it needs to be very wide to ensure, like a wide opening, to ensure that you have separated entrance and exits. When you think about the typical inlines, which are 3 by 3 or 3 by 4 meters, that would make it really complicated, you know, to ensure the social distancing on a 3 by 3.
Right. And with the solid walls, you also have to keep in mind visibility and accessibility rules, which differ from show to show. So yeah, this is just something to keep in mind here as well. Yeah.
Well, we know that you are all experts listening here, so we're not telling you, you know, that this is what you have to do. This is just to give you some ideas, and then we are sure that you have enough creative potential in your companies, you know, to have a workshop with your clients, you know, how their stands could look like in the future. But we're doing the same here. So with our clients, we're trying to discuss with them, you know, what we can do in the future to modify the design in a way that it is correlating with the requirements under COVID-19. And yeah, but you can share this this presentation as well, so that's all good for us, as long as you keep Czarnowski in. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so what we do in addition, because there's a growing demand right now from our clients, is that they are all having a lot of question marks regarding this online events, and we're all hoping that this will not become our core business, but will help us, you know, to bridge the time a little bit until we're back in a way with the shows, and of course. This includes the webinars, the live streaming, virtual exhibition tours, and also interactive booth tour with some virtual exhibits. This is something we're offering here as well. But yeah, some clients are interested in doing it because they have to. But for the most part, the teams we're talking to, they are hesitant, right, to dig into digital presentations here on like digital exhibits. well, we will see. I mean, time will tell us, you know, if this is really the future or part of our future, or if it is really just a tool that the clients are currently using because they have nothing else to present, or not another platform to present their products or services. So yeah, but I'm sure here, you know, you have also some solution providers in your areas and continents available that can help you, because that's what we are experiencing here. We have some ideas, but we don't have currently the qualification within our team, you know, to fulfill these requirements, because that's a completely different approach to make business with our clients. And therefore, we are currently collaborating with some specialists and experts in this field, or we are hiring freelancers. But our core team, you know, is not, you know, from the digital world. So we have to try to integrate this as much as we can, but still hoping, you know, that we come back with a usual 3D presentations soon. Yeah. So this is pretty much it. We were hoping, you know, that you get some inspiration out of the presentation and have some ammunition now that you can reach out to your clients or even to prospects with some offers, and also motivate organizers and venues, you know, to discuss with you as an expert how they can reopen the stands, because same here, some people think, you know, that they know how to do it, but have no clue, and then they come up with these kind of stupid regulation with like 1 person per 10 square meter, which at this point when you read it doesn't make sense, but needs some clarification. So we encourage you to follow the path that we do, because we are becoming very close relationships with clients and with prospects by offering these kind of services that bring us also new RFPs. I mean, just last week, we have received an RFP for from a client in Germany, you know, where we fulfilled all their requirements. And now we're in the loop even for digital. So it's not, we should not wait like the rabbit in front of the snake. How do you say that in English? But you know, that you're just waiting. No, we're trying to push forward and hoping that we can integrate our usual business as soon as possible. So, any questions?
Oh yeah, there are. First was looking at cost-wise. If you have the need for bigger stands due to the fact that the space is limited to a certain amount of visitors, what does the audience, or what do we all believe what's going to happen? Will space become cheaper? Are organizers willing to provide some extra space? How are these catering areas measured, and how are they going to be paid? So there are still some questions at this point. Looking at the cost effectiveness, Torsten and Anne, or the whole group, what do you expect? What's going to happen? Will organizers ask for additional payment?
Yeah, in a way, yes, because the organizer will not be willing, you know, to pay for all of that. But bearing in mind that they already had these kind of waiting zones or breakout zones in the past, so they can make more or better use of it, and at the same time sell the space, or if it's a shared space for the catering zone, to the exhibitors. So for exhibitors, it will probably become a little bit more expensive, because the cost for a catering zone in total, you know, that needs to, the money needs to come from some source. And we don't think that the organizers will eat this, but probably we will try to share it, you know, with the exhibitors. But, and then, you know, they have the option of sponsoring or whatever. But time, again, you know, these are ideas, and we're discussing, you know, with the organizers and venues, how they can have a return of investment on these spaces. But it's even better than having no show.
Everything is better than having no show. And then, well, I was sitting in a discussion with Ufi where we were talking about installation and dismantling, and that time slots for installation and dismantling needs to get longer due to the fact that the number of people is limited as well. And the first answer to longer installation dismantling was right away, no. But still, how can we work on this issue?
Well, you can swap to 2 shifts or 3 shifts for a setup. That's one of the solutions we have. Other than that, we need more time, and we need also to change the mindset of the organizers, because the way how they organized shows in the past will not work under these circumstances. And that is a big game changer, that we have a limited number of crew for the build-up. And then, of course, there are 2 ways. You know, you have more build-up time, or you have less complicated constructions.
Which might...
It's not in our hands. I mean, we're just providing the labor. It's not in our hands what the organizers will do, but it would need, of course, a common effort of the exhibitors and the stand builders to convince organizers and venues to give a longer time slot, you know, for installation.
Well, I think this is one thing we really have to make clear to organizers, that they have to run the installation and dismantling time in a different manner than they did it before. Correct.
And with Messe Köln or Köln Messe, I can tell you that they give 3 extra days for OrgaTech. So this the setup will have 10 days instead of 7.
Which is good news.
Yep.
Further more questions from your side? So far I don't see anything.
I got one question for Torsten. Ciao, Torsten. Ciao. So basically, just to understand it a bit better, what about the contract with directly catering to exhibitors? Basically, is impossible. Are impossible because anyway they have to. So we have passed through the organizer in this time, right?
Yes and no. I mean, you have different situations, as you know, Alessandro. In some of the venues, catering companies are not allowed except the contracted ones, right? So in some of the venues. So in this case, knowing that probably a catering vendor would not be able to supply all of the exhibits or all exhibitors, they probably have to come up with new contracts in these under these circumstances, in case, you know, they have a certain number of catering zones built in between the stands, and they don't have the capacity with their existing vendor. But the answer will clearly go to the organizer and venues, you know, who have to find an answer for us. We don't know, but so far we had a lot of venues where you could come with your own catering company on your space, and in others you couldn't. So it all depends on the contractual situation they have.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Then we do have the question if we believe that the measures and the regulations we are having right now as health regulations will be the same globally, or are they adopted to special countries and special rules in special countries? So far, I see that, well, there's a lot of copy and paste from existing measures. Torsten, Anne, do you have the same experience?
Yeah, you see in Germany, we have already different rules in different states.
Right.
So
they all have the same aim, but they do sometimes have different regulations or additional regulations. It's kind of like a trial and error. We just need to see how this evolves, and yeah, if they're gonna add regulations or if they're gonna dismiss some. I think they will all kind of be the same regarding of any state or country. But depending on the venue or the state or how the country is regulated, it can kind of be different somehow.
yeah, but it's that kind of best practice, I would say. You know, it started with Hunan Auto Show, so people looked into this. What was the experience? Then they copied and pasted. You know, now starting. We're aware of Germany. I don't know about other countries. And so they copy it, and then they see, you know, it works if they need to do some modifications. And so it's like evolving system, or it's evolving regulations.
Yeah, and what I experience is that companies and associations from different countries are asking for the experiences we are doing here in Germany. So I think we are working together with China right now on blueprints, because we are more or less the first to reopen.
Yeah. So I leave the presentation, Uta. You can have it back.
Thank you. And
Hi, Nini. I see Nini.
Yeah, Nini is there. Well, almost the whole board is there. So.
Oh, wow. Would I have known that in advance?
You would have become totally nervous. I know.
Came with the tie, you know.
Yeah, well, actually, here we are. What I still want to do at this point is we still have a group of companies which are promoting a sponsor IFES, and this is one thing I want to share with you, and that we are absolutely happy that they are trusting in our work, and that although they are all in difficult times, they are still supporting us. So have a look at them, and well, hope to see them personally again pretty soon, and have a wonderful time together. The next time we have is that we're going to have our AGM running in Hanover at the venue of Holtman. They are doing a hybrid showroom right now, which we are the first to use, and it will be an experience to have an AGM which is partly or hybrid, where we have on the one hand side attendees, and on the other hand side online attendees, so personal attendees and online attendees. And well, this will be an experience I don't want to have, but probably we all don't want to have, but we will have it. And for those who are not registered so far, don't miss the chance, because we have to know who's going to attend, because we have to share special codes for this meeting, since it's getting a little bit more complicated what the online services is. We want to do some workshops there. We have speakers like Kai Hattendorf and Andreas Kuche from Deutsche Messe AG, as well as Jörn Haltmeier, the new CEO of Alma. So we need to make it as flexible as possible. So therefore we need your registrations in advance. And those who are attending online, please don't miss the opportunity to hand over your proxy for voting or do the voting ahead of the assembly, because we are not able to run the secured voting procedure during our AGM. So this is one thing I want to ask you. And then I have the wonderful opportunity to introduce the next solution session, which will happen next Monday, same time, same place. And it will be a virtual showroom tour through the Roundprobe, which is a unique organization. They provide all kinds of materials which can be used in trade shows, and well, they do have quite a few materials as well, which are good to use during COVID-19, since they are less reactive with the virus and which are easy to clean. And this will be the insight from Joachim Stumpf, who's gonna run this tour through their showroom. And yeah, that's it so far. If you don't have any further questions, I will say bye-bye, good night.
I have something, Uta, just quickly.
Yes.
The German Association Farm Up tomorrow, they have a congress in area of Frankfurt. And that is an event under the headline of Back to Life, where on behalf of Farm Up and some event agencies, they are discussing how to encourage exhibitors and organizers to come back, with events and trade shows. And yeah, I'm on the guest list for tomorrow, and if there's something which is of importance, I will share with Uta, and then we can publish this as well. So
yes, of course.
all initiatives, we're sharing with all of you, all the IFES members.
Yes, we're happy to do, and I will be at the venue next week, and if there are some news and some experiences they want to share, we are happy to share as well. Yes, of course.
Cool. So stay healthy, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we are looking forward to seeing you at the AGM, if not in person, but then virtual.
Well, for sure, Torsten, Anne, and me, we are there.
Nini, are you coming as well?
Maybe. Still figuring out. Not sure yet.
Okay.
A little bit afraid of flying.
I heard the Dutch are coming, Anne.
Han is coming, and Jean-Pierre is coming, and from FM team, Michael and Philippe will be there. Simon from Hamburg will be there. Bruno will be there.
Great.
Our
And
incoming
Alejandro
treasurer will be there. So
you see, Alejandro from Argentina is also coming.
Sure.
He's already there because he has to self-quarantine him.
Ah, he's already in Germany?
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Uta. Thank you, Torsten. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Torsten.
Big
Thank
hug
you.
to everybody.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you, Anne. Thank you.
you for listening.
Bye.